Today, I'm going to show you how to build a full-fledged blogging agent that allows you to chat with it back and forth to create amazing SEO-filled blogs for your website. And this blogging agent can even generate images for your blogs. And the best part is, this blogging agent is going to store your preferences and keywords that you want to use in your blogs as you talk to it. So as you talk to it, it's improving and getting better. I didn't want to just create a blogging workflow. I wanted to create a blogging consultant. A lot of times the workflow type automations are great for just getting a similar result every time, but I wanted this blogging agent to actually get better at writing the types of blogs that you need for your website. So whether you're a local service business that's trying to bolster your SEO, or you're a personal brand that's trying to write blogs in your own style, this blogging agent is going to draft up your blog posts and then allow you to publish them after you've checked them and made small edits to them. Think about it like a supercharged blogging co-pilot. Now, I'm going to be building this blogging agent for one of my clients, and this is the other beautiful thing about this automation is you're going to learn how to build something new for your clients if you are an automation agency. You can just hand this off to your client and then they don't have to hire somebody that works for 4 or 5 hours to produce a mediocre blog post. This is the perfect situation for implementing AI and agents into your business. The best part about this is that you can contact this blogging agent inside of Telegram. So whether you're on your desktop like I am right here, or you're on your mobile device, you're going to be able to interact with this blogging agent and have it generate images for you, generate blog posts for you, and upload them directly to your WordPress site. As I mentioned before, this blogging agent is self-improving, so it has its preferences and keywords stored, and it's passing those into the system prompt every time that this agent needs to run a new blog. And it can add its own preferences and add its own keywords, so it's self-improving. I'm going to be showing you how you can set it up to post the blogs directly to WordPress, and I'm also going to show you how you can generate images and post those directly to WordPress. And if you stick around until later in the video, I'm even going to show you the system prompt for this AI agent so that you can see how to make it run like a well-oiled machine. Like I said earlier, a lot of these are just workflows where it just sends the blog straight through and it's the same every time and it's not getting any better. But this is actually like what you can think of as almost an employee that can talk with you back and forth and come up with ideas for you, write the blogs, share images and make sure that they're okay to put in the blogs, those sorts of things. Now, the client that I built this for originally is a pondscaping company, which means that they install and maintain ponds and waterfalls and different water features for both their commercial and residential clients. So that's the example that we're going to be using for this video, but you can connect this to any type of business. So when I say something like, help me come up with a blog post idea and send that off, and it says, sure, could you please share a bit more about your interests or the focus of your blog? This will help me tailor an idea that's relevant to your audience. For example, are you focusing on pondscaping, pond installations, general home improvement, or something else? I'm just going to say, let's write a blog about how someone can raise their home value by installing a waterfall or pond in their yard. Furthermore, let's add a section for why it can help a business attract more customers to their commercial location. And I can send that off. And just like that, it comes back and says, great idea. Enhancing properties with water features can indeed raise home value and attract customers to businesses. Here's a quick breakdown of what each section might cover. So this is where your area of expertise comes in. And this is why I don't like those regular standard workflow type blogging automations, because you can't actually have a back and forth with it like you can with this blogging scribe. So it just provides me with a basic overview of the blog that it's going to write. And then at the end, it says, would you like to proceed with this outline or make any adjustments before we move to the next step of generating images? And here's where your expertise comes in, because you are the one that knows your business best. You know what you do best, but you don't write blog posts best. So we're going to leave that to the agent, right? But if it gets something in here a little bit wrong or it's not in line with your business, you can just tell it to fix that section. And in this case, I just want to remove the maintenance and sustainability section. I just want to focus on the value that it provides to the homeowner, and we'll write different blogs on the maintenance and sustainability. So I'm just going to say, let's cut the maintenance and sustainability section And I'll also say in the future, let's just focus on the topic at hand. And I'll send that off. And it's going to do two things here. One, it's going to cut this out of the outline. And second, it's going to add to its preferences here in the Airtable database that we have that we don't want it to do that in the future. So it says, I've updated the preference to focus strictly on the topic at hand. So it's improving its memory for how to write better blog posts. And then it gives me the blog post outline here without the maintenance and sustainability section. Finally, it asks, shall we proceed to draft some images for this post? And I'm just going to say, yes, let's draft an image for this post. Send me an image that will highlight the residential pond style and also the commercial pond style. And I can send that off. And guys, these images are super high quality. We're using the Flux model to call these images. I showed this to my client earlier today and he was just blown away by the images. So, okay, it came through here with residential pond and it'll generate that next commercial pond style image next. But first we want to okay this one if we like the looks of it. So I'll click on it. I'll hit open. And boom, it generates this amazing image of this pond right here for the residential setup. I'll say this image looks good. Now let's generate the commercial image. I want to have a storefront near the pond and add a nice waterfall and some koi fish for the commercial image. And I'll send that off. And when it's generating the image, this agent gets my message and then it decides to use the generate image tool right here. And boom, it gave us our commercial pond link. So let's check it out. So I'll click on commercial pond, hit open. And would you look at that? It included a business, like a storefront of some type here. And it also included the waterfall that I asked for and all these koi fish in the pond. So I think it did an amazing job here. So now I'm going to say, let's proceed. I love the images and I'm ready for you to post the blog. All right, I'm going to send that off. And it comes back with our blog post and it hyperlinks it right here so we can click it for easy access. So I'll open that up. And here it's drafted up a blog post for my client's website. So it says enhancing property value and business appeal with water features. And then if I scroll down here, as you can see, it wrote out a full blog, even with headings and all. And as you can see, it even placed this image in a relevant spot. It placed the residential image with the raising home value with waterfalls and ponds section. And because this agent is so sharp, it also knows to link to other pages. So it linked to my client's pond installation services page. Now, if I keep scrolling here, you're going to see benefits for businesses, and it includes the business image right here, and then links to our pond enhancements page. Now down here, it says conclusion and call to action. I don't like that. I don't want it to say conclusion and call to action because that's just too marketing sounding, right? It doesn't sound like a customer facing post. So in the future, I could just tell it to add to its preferences that it needs to not do that and it would follow that instruction. But check out how these hyperlinks work. This is really what makes this blog so powerful is I can just click on this hyperlink and it's going to bring me directly to the pond enhancements page where the user can learn more about the pond enhancements that they can install and they can see things like lights, plants, and fish that they can add. And then if they keep scrolling through here, they get hit with the call to action to sign up and talk to Dave. And he'll help them get their enhancements all squared away. By the way, Dave does a phenomenal job. So if you guys are near the St. Joseph, Michigan area or in Southwest Michigan, Northern Indiana, Eastern Illinois, then Dave's your guy to go to if you do need some kind of pond installation. And when I'm ready to post that blog, because like I said, it's just a draft right now, I can only see it because I'm logged into my WordPress account. I can just go into our backend dashboard, go to my WordPress posts, and here I can click on that draft that it just generated. Now I can see my post here and I can make edits to it if I want to, or like, let's say I wanted to bold something. It's this simple right inside of WordPress. And I can even change words out. I could swap these images out if I wanted to. It's showing me everything that that agent wrote. And I can come in here and even if I wanted to, I could just make a better call to action, like getting started with your installation, something like that. And then when I'm ready, I can just hit publish again, and then it's going to post that to my client's website. So now I can hit view post, And it's right here, all published with the date of publication and the full blog post for his clients to read. Now, I'm going to show you exactly how to build this blogging agent today, but if you want to simplify and shortcut the process of both learning n8n and following along with this particular tutorial, then I highly recommend investing in our community, AI Foundations. And like I said, I'm going to be showing you the step-by-step of how to install this, how to do everything today on YouTube. But if you just want the easy one-click install, then I recommend going to our classroom in AI Foundations, going to the n8n Mastery course, and then scrolling down to Agent Builds here. I'm going to have this blogging agent in here, and all you have to do to install this is go down and install these one-click workflows. So we have the blog agent one-click workflow. I can just click on that, download it, and then if I head over to n8n, I can just create a new workflow. And all I have to do to load this up is just click on these three dots and import from file. Then I just click on the file that I just downloaded and hit open. And boom, it's all right here for me. And it even has the system prompt all configured so that you don't have to type all of this out manually. In AI Foundations, we have the most comprehensive selection of courses on generative AI, taking you all the way from the beginner concepts up to the pro advanced topics like building agents and automations. We do weekly calls where we help support each other, where Drake and I are both on the calls helping you guys out along the way, and we're just networking and having a good time. Outside of that, we have a vibrant community feed where people are always discussing AI. So if you would like to join us, you can use the link below this video in the description or the top pinned comment. Now, let's step into this step-by-step brass tacks of how to build this blogging agent. We're going to start by hitting the Create button in the upper right-hand corner of n8n, going to Workflow and clicking on Personal. Then I'm going to add our first step, and I'm going to type in Telegram, and I should see Telegram here, so I'll click on that. And I'm going to click on Message. Next, I'm going to create a new credential for Telegram, and I'm just going to name this credential Blog Agent. Next, you're going to download and install Telegram on your local device. Go to the upper left-hand corner of Telegram and hit New Channel. I'm going to call this channel Blog Agent, and I'll hit Create. I'm going to change it to a private channel and hit Save, and then I'm going to skip adding members. Next, I'm going to type into the broadcast message at botfather and hit enter, and then you're going to click on that hyperlink that it created for you. Next, I'm going to type in /new bot and hit enter, and it's asking us what we want to call the bot, so I'm just going to call it blog agent and hit enter, and then I'm going to give it a username. So I'm just going to name it blogging _ agent _ tutorial _ bot. Then I'll hit enter. And it's going to give us this access token right here. So I'll go ahead and copy that, and then I'll paste it in where we need the access token on n8n. Then I'll hit save. And on Telegram, I'm going to open up my bot using this link right here. And I'm going to hit start. And now we can talk with our bot. So in n8n, I'll close this window, and then I'll go back to Canvas. And next, we need to get the preferences and keywords into the context for our agent. To do this, you're going to go to airtable.com, and you're going to either sign up for a free account or sign in. Once you're signed in, it should look something like this, and I'm just going to hit the blue create button in the bottom left corner, and then I'm going to click start from scratch. Now I'm going to name this base agent blog, and we're going to click into this first table here and rename it to preferences. Then I'll hit save. And I'm going to change the name of the name column to preference. I'll hit save. Then I'm going to delete the rest of these columns here. Now I'll duplicate this preferences table. And this time we're going to name it keywords and hit save. And then here I'm just going to write in keywords and hit save. Make sure you add a few fields here for your keywords and just type in test and test2, for instance, and then in preferences, we'll do test P, test P2, and test P3. Now I'm going to click in the upper right-hand corner on my profile, go to Builder Hub, go to Personal Access Tokens, and then click on Create New Token. I'm just going to name my token Blog Agent, and we're going to add all of the scopes for now. You can go through these later if you want to and change this. If there are certain scopes that you don't want it to have access to through the API key that we're going to generate, then you can get rid of them, but it's going to need a few of these. So I'm just including all of them for now. And I'm going to hit add a base on access, and then I'm going to hit all current and future bases. and then hit create token. Then we'll copy this token, hit done. I'll head back over to n8n and we're just going to click on this plus button right here and type in Airtable. Then click on Airtable and we're going to click on search records. We'll rename this Airtable to preferences and hit rename. And then I'll go ahead and add a new credential. I'm going to paste my access token here and hit save. I'll name this credential blog agent and hit save. And now I'm going to close this modal and we're going to add our base, and I can just search for it. So I'm just going to type in blog and I see agent blog here. So I'll click on that base and then we're going to click the drop down for table and we're going to go to preferences. Now I'm going to turn return all off and we're going to change the limit to 20 so that it's only bringing through the 20 most recent preferences. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I don't want to overwhelm the agent, but you can play around with this limit here and see how many memories you can get into the agent's brain. And I'm also going to be coming out with a tutorial sometime in the near future on how to create a RAG database that can be accessed for the same type of preferences and memories that you create for your agent. Once this is all set, I'm just going to go back to Canvas and I'm going to duplicate this preferences and we're going to connect the Telegram trigger to it. And then I'm going to click into it and I'm going to rename this one to keywords, and then I'll hit rename, and the base can stay on agent blog. And then we're going to switch the table to keywords and we can leave the limit on 20. Now I'll go back to Canvas. We'll click on the plus here and I'm going to type in aggregate and I'm just going to click on aggregate. Then I'm going to change aggregate to all item data into a single list. Then I'll change the name of this put, output, and field into preferences, and we'll include all fields. Now I'll go back to Canvas and we'll duplicate this aggregate and we'll attach it here for the keywords, and I'll click into there. And this time we're going to call it keywords, and then we'll go back to Canvas. Now I'm going to rename these to aggregate preferences, and we'll rename this one to aggregate keywords. Then we'll click the plus button on this top one and type in merge and click on merge. Then for the mode, we're going to change it to combine, and I'll change combine by to all possible combinations and then hit back to Canvas. Now we'll drag the aggregate keywords into the second input for the merge. All right, now we're going to run a test using Telegram to trigger this automation. So I'm going to change this to active, hit got it. And then over here in Telegram, I'm just going to type in test and hit send. Then I'll go over to our executions in n8n. And if you click on your most recent execution, it should load up and it should show green data moving all the way through this automation. And if it does, you can hit copy to editor, and then we can pull in all of the fields that we need into our agent. So next, I'm just going to hit the plus button and type in agent and click on AI agent here. We'll leave this on tools agent, and I'm going to change the prompt source to defined below. Then I'm going to click on this drop down in the upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to go to our Telegram trigger, and then I'm going to pull in the test text that we sent through down here. So it's the text field. So I can just pull that directly into text, and it should change it to an expression, and you should see the result test or whatever you typed into Telegram. Next, we're going to add an option, and I'm going to click on system message, and we'll drag this system message down, and I'm going to delete the default text here. Now we're going to write out the system prompt. So if I paste in my first part of the system prompt, it just says system prompt, you are a blogging assistant. Your primary role is to help create blog posts drafted in HTML and consult with the user about blog related requests. Use the following guidelines and steps in your workflow. Pretty simple, and I'm going to add a divider, and then we'll enter the next part of the system prompt. So the next part of this system message is to add in the workflow overview. So this is the typical 4-step flow, and I just have it first discussing blog ideas, then drafting images, then drafting an outline, and finally publishing the post. And I put a note in here. I say you can break out of this flow if the user requests it, but generally follow these 4 steps. We'll add in another divider here. And next we'll paste in the tools and enhancements. So we have the add preference tool. This is used to add new preferences in 1 to 2 sentences or less. These preferences are for capturing information about style, branding, marketing, SEO, or any other detail that may help improve future blog posts. And then we have the add keyword tool. Use this to add relevant meta keywords that you discover. Then we just have it defining what a keyword is here. And I say you must always follow any existing preferences and meta keywords previously set. And I'm going to add in if they are relevant to the current request. We'll add our next divider here and then enter down. And now we'll define the image generation tool. So for the image generation tool, you're going to use this to request an image by sending JSON. And then I give it the example JSON right here, which is just a prompt object. And it's just saying your prompt here. Then I tell it generate one image at a time, then share the link with the user to confirm if it's acceptable for their blog post. If they want a different image, clarify and generate another until the final confirmation. And I'm going to add in here, never use an image in the blog post that hasn't been okayed by the user through your confirmation after sending a preview of the image. Then we'll go down and divide it out again. And next we're going to add the post blog tool. So I'm going to paste in the blog post creation tool. And what this is going to do is it's going to give a final post format. And I say use the post blog tool to deliver the completed blog post once you have all the details, for example. And then I give it a really good example of the JSON that I want it to pass through into our WordPress posting tool. So I give it an HTML example, exactly how I want it to look. And then I give it a title here. So I just say title of blog. And then the second, image placement. When adding images in the final post, include them with image source. And I just kind of give it the format for putting an image in. Then 3, we have backlinks. And I just say insert relevant inline backlinks from the following list when it fits naturally in the content. And I give it some internal links on my website that it can link to, even this call to action here for the contact page. And then finally, I say marketing/SEO and offer, maintain focus on the company's details, relevant subject matter, and SEO optimization. And or sprinkle within the blog post a clear offer or invitation to contact us using the link above. And I'm just going to say if it makes sense. And that's just a small detail. You can mess around with this last step if you want to in terms of your call to action. I'll add another divider line. And now we're going to turn this into an expression. And we're going to click to open it in a full window. I'll scroll to the bottom of my system prompt. And now I'm going to write 5 current preferences. And we'll hit enter. And I'm just going to paste in this expression here. So it's just pulling the JSON from preferences. And then it's mapping all of these different preferences that are coming through and just listing them out. So as you can see on the preview over here, it just shows test P, test P2, test P3. And I'll delete that space because it's not necessary. And then I'm going to enter down. We'll add in another divider. And I'll go 6 current meta keywords for the entire site. And now I'm going to paste in another expression. And this is just going to pull the current keywords that are available. And since we only have 2 objects here, it's only pulling 2 of them in here. Now, if any of these say undefined, that means that your field name isn't set up properly. So you'll want to check back on Airtable and make sure that your field name isn't like preference. If it's preference and this is actually pulling through a field called preferences, then it won't work. So you just need to make sure this matches the field that you're trying to pull in. And same with keywords down here. Like if I get rid of that S there, as you can see, it says undefined. But for you, you may have named this slightly different, so you can just change this out with whatever field you're trying to pull in from that search. Now I'll paste in one final divider, and I'm going to close this pop-up, and we'll go back to Canvas, and I'm going to add in a chat model. I'm going to select OpenAI chat model, and then we're going to create a new credential. To create this credential, you're going to go to platform.openai.com and you're going to click login if you already have a platform.openai.com account, and you're just going to click sign up if you don't have an account already. I'm going to log in. Then once you're logged in, you're going to click on the gear icon in the corner and you're going to head over to billing. And if you don't have credits in here yet, you're going to want to load in some credits. This is pretty cheap to run the OpenAI API. If you're using a model like 4.0 or 4.0 mini, it's going to run you less than a penny per page of output text that it's sending off. So you don't have to worry too much about costs, but at least load in like $5 to test with, and that should be plenty to begin with. Once you've loaded in using this billing tab, you're going to go to the API keys tab, and you're going to create a new secret key. And I'm just going to call this blog agent. And then I'll select a project and hit create secret key. Now I'll copy this secret key and hit done. We'll head back into n8n, and I'm just quickly going to rename this to blog agent. And then I'm going to paste my key here and hit save. It should say connection tested successfully. So now I can close this. And if you want a super cheap lightweight model to run, then you can use GPT-4o mini. But I recommend using GPT-4o because it's not too expensive for the quality of results that you're getting out of it. Now I'll go back to Canvas and I'm going to move my chat model over here. And then I'm going to click on add memory. And we're going to click on window buffer memory. Then I'll change the session ID to define below. I'll go to mapping and I'm going to click this drop down here, go to the Telegram trigger, and then I'm going to pull in the chat ID. So it's not the from ID, but the chat ID that you want to pull in. I think they're the same, but I'm just going to pull in the chat ID. That's the one I usually use. And then for the context window, I'm going to change it to something a little bit longer if I want to have longer conversations about my blogs with the agents. But if you go too long on this, it's going to time out ChatGPT eventually, and you're going to reach a token limit for your context window. So it starts at 5, but I recommend going to like 8 or 10, and you can play around with this and see what works for you. It doesn't hurt to test. Then I'll go back to Canvas. And next we need to start adding in some tools. So first we're going to add the preferences write tool and the keywords write tool so that this thing can continue to improve as you're talking with it, and it can add preferences and keywords on the fly as it's learning. So I'm going to click tool, and then I'm going to type in Airtable. You should see Airtable tool here. Click on that. And I'm going to rename this to add underscore preferences. I'll hit rename. And we're going to change the operation to create. So it should be set automatically record create. And then for the base, we're going to type in agent. And I should see my agent blog base. So I'll click on that. And then we'll drop down tables and I'll click on preferences. And here I'm going to change it to expression, and I'm going to paste in this expression. So it's just money sign from AI. And then I put in parentheses here, add preference. So this is just showing it that this is where it can add its preferences. Now we'll go back to Canvas, and I'm going to drag this tool down, and I'm going to right click it and hit duplicate. Now this one we're going to drag in and connect it to our tools. And then I'm going to right click it and I'm going to hit rename. And here we're just going to call this add underscore keyword. And I'm going to hit rename. And then I'll click into this add keyword, and we're going to switch the table to keywords. And then I'm just going to change this where it says add underscore preference to add underscore keyword. Then I'll go back to the canvas. Now, just to make sure our agent is off to a good start and everything's working, I'm going to hit save. And I'll click into my Telegram trigger here and unpin the data, and then go back to canvas. And I'm just going to say add a preference and keyword for testing purposes. Let's say I'm a pondscaping / pond installation company. So I'll send that off. Then if I go to executions in n8n, I should see that there's something running here. So if I click on that, eventually it should load in, and then I should see everything flowing through here. So I see that the add keyword tool didn't work. So I'm just going to copy this to my editor. I'm going to click into add keyword. And I actually see the problem here is that it's still pulling in that preferences field. So I'm just going to copy this information and get it out of there. And then we'll delete the preferences field. And then you're just going to toggle this table up here back to keywords, and it should reload your fields. And now we have the keywords field here. So I'll paste that in and change it to expression. And now it should work on our next test. So I'll hit back to canvas. Make sure you hit save so that that keyword changes. And then we're going to try another test. I'm just going to say, try adding keywords once more. It didn't work. And then if I go to executions here, I should see another execution running. So I'm going to click on it. And once it loads, we should see a successful creation of a keyword here. So now I'm going to hit copy to editor. And then we're going to click the plus button right here. And I'm going to type in Telegram. And we're going to get Telegram working on the other end. I'm just going to type in send, and I should see send text message. So I'll click on that. So we want resource, message, operations, send message. And then for the chat ID, I'm going to go to this drop down, go to the Telegram trigger, and then I'm going to pull in the chat ID. And then for the text, we're going to go back to the AI agent field, and I'm going to drag in this output field for the text. Now we'll go back to Canvas, hit save, and we'll test Telegram again. And I'm going to unpin this, go back to Canvas, save it again, and now we're going to test it out in Telegram. So I'm just going to say, hey, what can you do? And this time we should actually get a response from Telegram since we added this send message. So we're going to see if we get a response here. And as you can see, it says, I can assist you with a variety of blog related tasks, including blah, 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 blah. All of these things are included in its system prompt here. So it already knows what its role is. So now I'm going to say, what is your standard workflow? And it should be able to tell me that the standard workflow is steps 1 through 4. And then it's going to give me them here. Okay, so typical 4-step workflow, discuss blog ideas, draft images, draft an outline, and then publish the post. All right, perfect. So this is working great now. The next step is just to add the image generation tool and the posting to WordPress tool. So make sure you're saving this frequently. And I'm just going to rename my workflow here to blog tutorial. And I'm going to add a tag, and I'm just going to call this main. And then I'll add another tag for blog tutorial, and I'll create that tag. Now I'm going to go back to the home page. I'm going to hit create, workflow, and personal. And we're going to add a first step here, and I'm going to type in execute. And I should see execute workflow. So I'll click on that. I'll click on when called by another workflow, and then I'll go back to Canvas. And next we're going to click the plus button, and I'm going to type in WordPress. I'll click on WordPress, and I'm going to click create a post. Next, you're going to go to a site that you have WordPress installed on, and I just have one of my clients here that I built a website for. They do pond and waterfall installation, and they want this agent to help them out with writing blogs. So what I'm going to do for this particular client is I'm going to open up the URL here. And in this URL, I'm just going to add the backslash at the end and then wp-admin and hit enter. And that should bring you to a login screen. Once you get signed into WordPress, you can go to users, add new user, and I'm going to name this user blog agent. And I'll enter a valid email here. These are the only 2 required fields. And we can stick with this password. That's fine. And I'm going to untick this box and change the role to administrator. And then I'm going to hit add new user. And then once that user is added, we're going to click on that user, scroll all the way to the bottom, and then we're going to create a new application password. So I'm just going to call this tutorial, and I'm going to hit add new application password. And then I'm going to copy this application password that it gave me. We'll go back into n8n, and I'm going to create a new credential for WordPress. And then I'm just going to type in the username, which was blog agent, one word. And then I'm just going to paste in the application password. This is not to be confused with your regular password for the account. Then I'll enter the WordPress URL. So I just have serenewatergardens.com in here. And I'm going to ignore SSL issues. This is an insecure option, but for testing purposes, I'm going to keep this on for my credential. And then I'm going to rename this credential to blog agent and hit save. And then we'll close this window. You want the resource to be on post and the operation to be on create. And then you want a title. So I'll just type in test for now. And I'm going to add another field here. This one's going to be status. And we're going to make sure that it's set to draft so that it doesn't actually publish that post. And I can actually go in and do a check step. Then we'll add another field for content. And I'll type test here as well. And then I'm going to add a final field, and this isn't 100% necessary, but I'm just choosing a template and Elementor template, Elementor theme, because I'm using the Elementor theme and I have a specific template that I want it to use. But for you, you probably don't have to do this. It will just use a default template for your blog post. So you probably don't have to worry about this, but it's something that you can mess around with if you want. Now I'll go back to Canvas and I'll hit save. And I'm going to rename this workflow to blog posting. And then I'm going to add our tags just to keep this within the same project. I'll just add the blog tutorial and tool tag because this time it's a tool rather than the main or the chat workflow. And this is just my own organizational strategy for making sure that I know where everything is. I'll go back to the overview and I'm going to click back into my blog tutorial workflow. We'll add a tool here. and I'm going to call n8n workflow. I'm going to rename this tool up here to post_blog and then hit rename. And we'll also add that same name for the name field here, post_blog. For the description, I'm just going to say post blogs using raw HTML here. Keep it very simple. Then we're going to select our workflow, and we want to find the blog posting workflow that we just created. Then I'll tick specify input schema, and I'm just going to paste in this schema here. This is just HTML and title, and I got this from my system instructions, and you're going to want to make sure that this is just valid JSON, and you won't run into any issues if it is valid. Now we'll go back to the canvas, and we'll drag this tool out and just kind of get these things organized here. I'll hit save, and then I'm going to run another test in Telegram. So I'm just going to say post a test blog. Don't go through the workflow. I'm just testing. And I'll send that off. And it should come back and give me a link here. So I'll click on that link and open it up. And as you can see, it made a test blog post on my site. I'm the only one that can see it because this isn't published live, but it did pull through with the test. So now I'm going to go back to my homepage, click on blog posting, and then I'm going to go to executions, and I'm going to find the execution that it just sent off. And here, as you can see, it's sending one item to the WordPress post. I'm going to click copy to editor, and then it should pull that item through so that I can pass it in. So I'll go into WordPress here. And for the content, I'm going to replace where it says test with the HTML field. And for the title, I'm going to replace that with the title itself. Then I'll go back to Canvas. And just to keep this all nice and clean, I'm going to click the plus button right here, and I'm going to type in set, and we're going to edit fields. And we're going to set this field to the link variable right here. I'll hit test step, and it should pull through just the link to the blog post. Now this is going to save on tokens, because if I'm talking with this agent and it's receiving back all of the data that this WordPress module outputs, then it's just going to take more of the token limit that we need to continue talking with this agent. So this will be a lot more efficient, and you're not going to need to pull in all of this information because all it really needs is this link right here. So now I'll go back to Canvas, and I'm going to unpin this execute workflow, go back to Canvas again, and then hit save. Now we'll go back to the home page. And now we're going to hit create again. We're going to click on workflow, personal, and I'm going to name this one image creation. Then I'm going to add the tag for my blog tutorial and tool, because this is another tool that we're creating. This is going to be the image generation tool. We'll add a first step here for execute. And I should see execute workflow, and then when called by another workflow once again, and then we'll go back to Canvas, and we have our first node here. Next, I'm going to click this plus button, type in HTTP, and we're going to click on HTTP request. I'll change the method to post, and I'm going to paste in the URL. The URL is just api.us1.bfl.ai/v1/flux-pro-1.1. Next, I'll check send headers, and for the name, I'm going to type in x-key, and then we need to go get the credential from Black Forest Labs, who is the owner of this Flux model and its API. So head over to blackforestlabs.ai, hit API, and then you're going to log in or register. And once you're logged in, you can scroll to the bottom of this window, and you're going to add in some credits. Again, just add like $5 worth of credits. I have a bunch of credits in here to test with, but you can just get started with a small amount. Next, I'm going to hit add key, and we're going to give the key the name of blog tutorial, and I'll hit create key, and then it should generate that key, and I can just click copy right here, and then we'll paste that credential into the value here. Next, I'm going to tick send body. We'll make sure that the body content type is on JSON, and specify body should be using JSON. Now I'm going to switch this JSON to an expression, and I'm going to paste in my expression here. And this expression is just a simple JSON object containing a prompt, which we're going to be passing through from the previous module, along with the height of the image. If I want it to be high quality, I can change this to true. And then the seed, safety tolerance, and output format can remain the same as well. So once all of that is set, I'm just going to go back to Canvas. We'll hit save here. And then I'll go back to home. I'll go back to my blog tutorial, and we're going to add a new tool. I'm going to call n8n workflow tool. I'm going to rename this tool to generate_image. And then I'm also going to add that name for the name field here. Then for the description, I'm just going to say, call this tool with a prompt to generate an image for your blog post. We'll click on the workflow and I'm going to find the image creation workflow that I just created. We'll tick specify input schema. And I'm just going to change this sum_input to prompt. And then I'm going to put prompt here. And now we'll go back to Canvas and save. All right, now the generate image call is ready to go. So let's test it out with Telegram. So when I test this out, it's not actually going to generate the image to begin with because we don't have the other tool fully set up, but we do need to get some test data in there. So to do that, I'm just going to say generate a test request to generate image. And then it came back and it actually gave me the image ID, which is kind of nice because it figured out that that was the output field and it just gave me what was output. But now we need to actually go into the tool that creates the images and we need to convert this ID into an image and then upload it to WordPress so that there's a place that it can be hosted. So I'll go back to home and hit save. Then I'll go into my image creation tool, click on executions, and I should see a successful execution here. I can just click on that execution and then hit copy to editor. And if it doesn't work, just go back to executions and click on it again. And I'm going to click copy to editor and it should pull through these items like so. And if I click into my HTTP request here, what I should see is that when I click on this, I see the preview and it actually pulls in the prompt for me. So now I'll hit back to Canvas and I'm going to add a new node and we're going to search wait. And I'll click on the wait node. And I like to wait 15 seconds between generations to make sure that the image actually gets generated because it can't immediately access that image. It has to have some wait time for the image to generate. So I found that 15 seconds is a good sweet spot, but you can ramp this up if you're running into errors or the image generation isn't going through, or you can try turning it down a bit to see if you can get it to generate faster without coming through with an error. But like I said, 15 seconds has been the sweet spot for me. So I'm going to go back to Canvas now and we're going to add another node and I'm going to type in HTTP once again, HTTP request. And I'm going to rename this to get image. And we're going to change this to expression and I'm going to paste in the URL here. This is just a get result URL and it has the ID at the end and it also has the JSON.ID pulling through from the previous module. So if you remember right, that ID was output right here. So that's what it's pulling from. So I'll go back to Canvas again. And I actually want to rename this to request image just to keep things organized. So we're requesting the image, we're waiting, and then it's getting that image. Now I'm going to grab my API key from the request, go back to Canvas, and I'll go into the get image. And this time we're going to send headers. And I'm going to type in again, x-key, and then I'm going to paste the value of my API key into here. Now I'm going to execute previous nodes. Once that's done, it should pull the ID in and map it into the URL here. And then if I hit test step on this one, it should generate a sample image. So I can copy this URL here, I can paste it in and hit enter. And then as you can see here, it generated that image. Next, I'll go back to Canvas, I'll hit plus. And now we're going to add an HTTP request that's going to turn this image into a binary string. So that's basically just going to turn it into a long line of numbers and letters that represent that image for the computer to understand. So to do that, like I said, HTTP request, and we're going to be using a tool called Zero Code Kit to do this. And this allows me to run some Python code. And I was going to use the code node within n8n, but it wasn't allowing me to pull in Python libraries. So I was running into that issue and I already had Zero Code Kit. So it makes it pretty simple. Zero Code Kit is free to begin with, and as you scale up, it's only like $10 per month for their basic plan, which gives you plenty of credits to do as many of these blog posts as you want. So I'm going to change this method to post, and then I'm going to paste in the URL. Then I'll click on send headers, and for the name, we're going to type in auth. Then to get our API key, I'm just going to sign up or sign in to Zero Code Kit at zerocodekit.com. And then once you're signed in, you're just going to copy your API key, head back over to n8n and paste it in for this value under auth. Then we'll tick send body. I'll set this to JSON, and for specifying the body, I'm going to say using JSON. And I'm going to turn this to expression, and then I'm going to paste in my JSON that I already have ready. And I'll just show you guys this really quick. It's just a basic code snippet that is turning this image URL variable into base64. So you can generate this using ChatGPT, or you can get my exact code in the AI Foundations community. And then the next line here is just pulling in the requirement of requests, which is a library that is allowing Python to do an HTTP request to get this. Now I'm going to go back and test step, and it should pull through my base64. Another thing that you're going to want to do is add option for redirects and make sure follow redirects is on and max redirects is 21. So now I'm going to go back to Canvas, and I'm going to add a node here for convert. And we're going to click on convert to file and then move base64 string to file. And we'll leave the operation on move base64 string to file. And for the data here, we're going to pull in the result.base64 image. So I'll just type in result.base64 image. And then the output field can just be called data. And we'll click test step. And it should pull through our data here. Now I'll go back to Canvas. And now we need to upload this file to WordPress. So I'm going to click plus, and I'm just going to type in HTTP. We're going to click HTTP request again. And for the method, we're going to change it to post. For the URL, I'm just going to use my URL /wp-json/wp/v2/media. I'm going to tick send headers. For the header name, I'm going to type in authorization. And then for the value, I'm going to type in basic space, and then I need to get a base64 string of my credentials to pull in. Now to get this base64 string, you're going to need both your credentials and you're going to need a way to convert your credentials into base64. So that's why I've posted up this code for a base64 utility on my GitHub as a GitHub repository. So I'm going to leave the link below for this. You can go to my code here and you can copy this URL. Then you're going to go to your terminal and type in git clone and then paste that URL in and hit enter. And it should clone my GitHub repository. Then I can just do cd base64 utility, hit enter. And if I type in ls, I can see a list of the files in the directory, and I see that I have base64_encoder.py. So I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to type in Python and then paste in the base64_encoder.py and hit enter. And now it's asking us for a string to convert to base64. And to get that, you're just going to copy the username that you created for your agent on WordPress. And then you're just going to paste that in. And then you're going to put a colon. And we'll scroll down on WordPress. And I'm going to copy that application password once again. And I'm going to paste that as well. And then I'm just going to remove all of the spaces here without deleting any of the letters or numbers. And then I'm just going to hit enter. And this is going to give me a base64 string that I can use with the API. So if I go back into n8n, I can paste in that base64 string after basic space, and that should be good to go. Now I'm going to add a parameter, and I'm going to type in content-disposition here. Now here, I'm just going to paste in the value for my file name. So this is just naming the file and setting it as a .jpeg. And then we're going to hit send body. And for the body content type, I'm going to select n8n binary file. And then for the input data field name, I'm going to type in data because that is the field name for the data that we're passing through. Now I'll hit test step. And if it worked, it should pull through a URL here, and I can copy that and we'll paste it in and head over. And as you can see, we're on serenewatergardens.com, and it's uploaded this to our actual website. And then I'm going to add one final node of set fields. And once again, we just need to pull through the actual URL itself. What I want to pull in is raw. So I'm going to drag raw into here. I'll go back to Canvas, hit save. I'll head back to my homepage and I'll click on blog tutorial. And now this should be ready to go. So if you want to learn n8n and you want to get better at this stuff, and you just want the plug and play for this particular automation, then I highly recommend investing in AI Foundations. You can use the link in the description or the top pinned comment to join. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.